district, but more importantly than for the district, for the children of Bossier Parish. We are elated to be commemorating a milestone as it pertains to the Bossier Educational Excellence Fund, or BEEF for short. If you will, please help me first welcome Bossier Parish School Board President Billy Joe Brotherton, who is going to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You did it right. You may be seated. Thank you. We are honored to have with us today Bossier Parish educators. No, they do not get the entire summer off like people like to think. Community members, civic leaders, and many of our elected officials. Help me acknowledge some special faces, if you will, in the audience and also here on stage. First of all, three-term Governor, Louisiana Governor Edwin Edwards. Today's honoree, Louisiana Public Service Commissioner and former State Senator Foster Campbell. In the audience, former State Representatives Henry Burns, Billy Montgomery, and James Smith. Bossier Parish Sheriff Julian Whittington. Also here today, former Bossier Parish Sheriff Larry Dean. Representing the Bossier Parish Police Jury, we have with us Bob Brotherton and also Parish Administrator Bill Altimus. From the Bossier Parish School Board, President Billy Joe Brotherton. Board Representative Sam Darby. Glenn Bullard. Mike Masura, and J.W. Scott. We also have, of course, Bossier Schools Superintendent, our mighty leader, Scott Smith. And our Assistant Superintendents, Dr. Nicole Bourgeois, and also Mitch Downey. We also have with us the very honorable mayor of the city of Bossier City, Lo Walker. Also here today, Dr. Chris Maggio, the president of Northwestern State University. And we also want to recognize Malcolm Smoke, the president of SWEPCO, here today. Brandon Fry from the Louisiana Public Service Commission. Mark Montgomery, chairman of the board for Citizens Bank. Commissioner Campbell's wife, Gwen Campbell, and his sister, Betty Hatch. And last but not least, Amanda Crawford, who is the office assistant at Campbell Insurance. Let's give them all a round of applause. So, what's the beef? You know, I had to go there. I had to say that. It is the acronym for the Bossier Educational Excellence Fund, a perpetual endowment set up for Bossier schools created in 1985 by then State Senator Foster Campbell. Governor Edwin Edwards set aside the first $500,000 in tax revenue from Louisiana Downs to fund BEEF, and Senator Campbell later amended the legislation to add state tax revenue collected from Bossier City casinos. The principle is protected, meaning Bossier schools can only draw the interest each year to pay for classroom enhancements and district needs. It is not to be used for salaries, for capital outlay projects, or the like, or recurring expenses. To date, an impressive $7 million has been allocated to schools throughout Bossier Parish, none of it coming from taxpayers, unless perhaps they bet on the ponies or go to vote. But that initial $500,000 investment has grown significantly, and that is why we are here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce that this month we reached a milestone. BEEF, the Bossier Educational Excellence Fund, surpassed the $50 million mark.
education of thousands of students. But nowadays, teachers rely on more than just textbooks. Bossier Parish students are enjoying the fruits of an endowment whose seed was planted more than 30 years ago by former State Senator Foster Campbell. In 1985, Campbell urged then-Governor Edwin Edwards to set aside $500,000 in tax revenue from Louisiana Downs to fund the Bossier Educational Excellence Fund, better known as BEEF.
This is a very unique program, $50 million in it now, and the interest is used in the classroom just like it's being used today. Computers, science programs, music laboratories, science laboratories, anything that's really used in the classroom.
Foster Campbell later amended the fund to add additional tax revenue from Bossier City casinos. In just over 30 years, the state's initial $500,000 investment has grown to $50 million.
The Bossier Educational Excellence Fund has been a huge boon to Bossier schools and continues to be. We have nearly 23,000 students in our district, and I dare to say that not a single one of them has not been impacted in some way through BEEF, whether it be through technology and software, robotics programming, or the like. It has been such a big help, and none of that money has had to come out of taxpayer pockets.
In the last 30 years, BEEF has provided Bossier schools with $7 million in classroom enhancement funding. That money has been used to buy 1,500 computers and Chromebooks, like the ones these students at Legacy Elementary are using.
Almost every lesson that we have in our classroom today have a digital component. And in addition to that, we're preparing our kiddos for jobs of the future, which, as we know, incorporate a lot of technology.
Speaking of technology, BEEF has bought 40 smartboards for schools across the parish. It's provided funding for robotics supplies for science, technology, engineering, and math students. It's also paid for unique labs, like a television production studio. This one at Parkway High School is designed to give students interested in a television career a head start with hands-on experience.
They have many job opportunities in this field, and to prepare them is like organization, to know what to do, how to film. Maybe they look at things differently. Don't look at just the foreground, look at the background of things, and to try to see, just be more observant too, especially in today's society.
Most importantly, BEEF has paid for 100,000 hours of after-school tutoring for students who need some added help. And some of the BEEF money is used to help students and parents with some out-of-pocket expenses.
Just this past year, the school board allocated up to $300,000 from BEEF money to cap a student's responsibility to just $30 to be able to pursue advanced placement courses, also to take the CLEP test, and also to receive industry-based certification. So that's been a huge savings to their family.
This belongs to Bossier Parish, and we want this here for the history in building better schools. We have a good school system here. This just puts icing on the cake.
As I mentioned, there is not a student in Bossier Parish that has not benefited from the BEEF fund. Now, the way that works is Bossier Parish School Board has a BEEF committee, and each year its members decide how to allocate the dollars earned in interest as this generous endowment grows and prospers. Please help me welcome BEEF Committee Chairwoman Sam Darby.
As a longtime member and chair twice of the BEEF Committee, this is one of the roles I find most meaningful as a school board member. It takes technology and software, instructional material, music equipment, robotics platforms, and so much more to engage our students and to keep Bossier schools on the cutting edge. Thanks to BEEF, we are able to provide many of these resources without using money from our general fund. Not only does that save taxpayers dollars, but it's also a huge help financially for families. One example is the school board allocated BEEF money to cap a student's expenses to $30 should they choose to pursue an advanced placement or dual enrollment course, acquire an industry-based certification, or take the clip. On behalf of the Beef Committee and the Bossier Parish School Board, allow me to express appreciation to Commissioner Foster Campbell for establishing this treasure chest to benefit Bossier schools well into the future. Thank you. Now, help me welcome the leader of the best school district in the state, Bossier Parish School Superintendent, Scott Smith.
Thank you, President Darby. And I've got a little aside here that I want to talk to you about. I was 13 years of age when Edwin Edwards became the governor of Louisiana for the first time. Okay, and he'd already had 3 terms as a congressman at that point. And somebody told me that 47 years later, I'd be on the same speaking stage as Governor Edwin Edwards. And I said, what fairy tale are you reading? Hey, fairy tales are true sometimes, right? Yeah. Listen, we are excited to be celebrating this milestone. I mean, who would have thought that 33 years ago, we'd be standing here today announcing that a $500,000 investment has grown into a $50 million perpetual fund for the children of Bossier Parish Schools. And to think that it does not cost our taxpayers, again, one single penny, yet has far-reaching effects on the educational experience Bossier Schools is able to offer the children, every single student in Bossier Parish, every single day. We are working hard to become the highest performing school district in Louisiana. As a matter of fact, that is our vision. We choose to be the highest performing school district in the state of Louisiana for the 2018-19 school year. That is our motto, and everyone will remember it, from the very small children in kindergarten, pre-K, all the way up to the 12th grade. Everyone should know what our vision is. Listen, but however, that vision, somebody with a vision like this, can only happen with partners like Foster Campbell, who find innovative ways to invest in public education. This is especially critical today, given the state's budget woes and the fight for every single dollar. Remember those days, Governor Edwards? At Bossier Schools, our motto is inspiration, imagination, innovation. Our educators inspire children to imagine the possibilities, to be forward thinkers and dream big. And when inspiration and imagination intersect, that fuels innovation. Foster Campbell was inspired to find a way to poise Bossier Parish schools for academic success. His forward thinking to use casino revenue to establish the Bossier Educational Excellence Fund makes him an innovator, no doubt. You have to think, you have to imagine, you have to innovate, and that's exactly what he did. So today, it is my distinct honor to present Commissioner Foster Campbell with a token of appreciation for being a change agent for Bossier Schools and a champion for Bossier Parish students. Mr. Campbell, if you can come forward first. This is our pin that expresses our motto, and obviously the motto you've had for many years, inspiration, imagination, innovation. I also would like to give this to the Governor, Governor Edwin Edwards, same pin. Thank you, sir. And also, I would like to hand you this memento for being a change agent for Bossier Schools and being a champion for Bossier Parish students.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. It's a pleasure to be here today. I won't tell you this was easy, because it wasn't easy. We had a lot of fights along the way, but we survived. We were dedicated toward this program. I started off teaching school up at Plain Dealing, which is near dear to my heart. Lots of children up there need a lot of help still today. But I started off teaching school there, and then I moved out to Houghton, where Coach Montgomery, Mr. Harlan, helped me. Coach Montgomery really got me a job. I met Coach Montgomery one time in Gibson. It used to be Gibson's on Airline Drive, and I didn't have any shoes on. I was barefooted. And he sort of looked at me. I said, "Man, what a hell of a day to meet the principal." But he didn't worry about it. So I taught out there, and the people out there were great to me, and it was a great school. But I want to say special thanks to some people here today that really stuck with us on this program. Everybody wants money in Louisiana. Money is the easiest thing to get rid of. And you really got to fight hard to keep it all in because everybody wants a piece of it, and everybody has a great idea how to spend it. A lot of people would like to build a building and put their name on it. Well, I'm not for that because that building doesn't do any good for anybody all over the parish. And a lot of people want to build a big football field. I'm not for spending money on this program in athletics. I think this is just my opinion, and I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. I think Louisiana needs to spend more money in the classroom and a little bit less on football, basketball, and baseball. That's what I think. That's my opinion. When I was in the legislature, I passed a bill to make kids make better grades. And you won't believe this now, when I went to the legislature, kids could make 3 D's and 2 F's and play ball in Louisiana. 3 D's and 2 F's. That's an F average. And they had to pass 3 courses. And a lot of people said, "Oh, you're going to learn the athletic system, this, that, and the other." I passed the bill. Guess what happens? Kids make better grades. Didn't cost a penny, and schools are better for it. So encouraging kids to do better in the classroom pays dividends. It really does. But today, I'm going to introduce Edwin Edwards later, but he's with us today. Edwin Edwards is really the guy who named this program the Beef. He and I were riding down the street in Shreveport, and I was begging him for this money. And he said, "Okay, I'm going to give you the money." And he said, "Let's name it Beef." He's always been real quick-witted. And Beef came after Where's the Beef in that Wendy's commercial. So he said, "Name it Beef." And I said, "Okay, it's a Bossier Educational Excellence Fund." So he gave us the first $500,000. He didn't have to do it, but he did it, and I'm going to introduce him a little bit later. Jesse Dean was a representative at that time. Jesse Dean and my dad were good friends. They served on the police jury together. And his son is here today, and his daughter. Jesse was a strong supporter. We had a meeting when we formed Beef. It had a picture of me and Alphonse Jackson and Jesse Dean on the program. Mr. Gillette printed the program. Alphonse Jackson was a great guy. He lived over in Shreveport. He was the first black man who was elected to the legislature from North Louisiana. And he was a real leader. He was a real leader and a great fellow that supported education. He helped us. Coach Montgomery fought hard for this program when he got in the legislature after Mr. Dean didn't run anymore. Billy Montgomery took his place, and he fell right in there with Mr. Dean's thinking, and always supported teachers and education. And Mr. Gillette, who's here today, was the superintendent of schools, and he had a lot to do with this program. He had to fight hard. Everybody wasn't all for this program. Everybody, some people didn't like it because we were telling them what to do with their money, and we finally got over that because the school board runs it. I don't have anything to do with it. The school board runs Ms. Darby, and her committee runs it, and they're doing a good job. But we got it all done, but Mr. Gillette really, really helped. We had one person on the school board that I knew good and still know. Mr. Slack always supported it, and so did Henry Burns. Henry Burns was a supporter. When I got up there a couple of times, there were some nights that we had some real hot conversations about busting this up and spending the money, but Henry stayed in there and said, maybe we need to let this thing grow. So I appreciate that because now everybody's for it, but everybody hadn't always been for it. But the bottom line is, the good news is here. There's an old saying in North Louisiana, there ain't no wrong way to do the right thing. And that's true. There's no wrong way to do the right thing. This was the right thing to do. Bossier Parish, I don't know if you know this, you probably do, is probably one of the, if not the fastest growing parish in Louisiana. It's certainly the fastest growing in North Louisiana. And one of the main reasons, make no mistake about it, one of the main reasons is people come here because of the schools. I just talked to a lady out there who did an interview with me. She said she's moving to Bossier Parish. You know why she's moving over here? is because of schools. You can have children and they don't have to go to private schools, and that saves a lot of money for working people. So we got good schools, and all this does is to make them better, because Waller Elementary, for example, I went to Bossier Elementary. It's in the poor part of town. It's down there where I was raised. And Waller is sort of in an area that needs help. But anyway, they got a music lab down there to teach children music, and that's great. And science labs and things like that. That's what this was all intended to do. But to give you a little history about this, and then I'm going to let introduce Governor Edwards, who made this possible. You might remember in the 70s, Bossier Parish was faced with a proposition about Louisiana Downs. Well, the churches didn't want Louisiana Downs. You remember we had a big fight about how bad this, that. I'm not getting involved in all that. I'm just telling you both sides. There was two sides. Most of the churches didn't want it, and a lot of people wanted it. So the only way to settle that, which I thought was a civil way to settle, you let the people vote on it. So the people voted for Louisiana Downs. And Louisiana Downs has helped a lot of people. I'm going to tell you that. It's helped a lot of folks. A lot of people have jobs there, etc. But when Louisiana Downs got started, it was phenomenal success. You could not get a parking place out there on the weekend. It was packed. You couldn't get up you had to sit out there on the grounds because the upstairs was all taken up. But anyway, they gave money to the police jury, and they gave money to the city. The city was getting about $2.5 million a year, and the police jury got about $2.5 million a year. So, I got to thinking, I said, well, the school board didn't get anything. I said, well, that doesn't make much sense. Let's see. And so I went to see Governor Edwards, and I asked him, I said, I need some money. And he was laughing. He's got a real sense of humor. He said, well, who doesn't need money, I said, well, I really need it. He said, well, what you need it for? I said, Bossier's, they're doing great up there, and they're paying you all this money down here. I need $500,000. So he said, I'm going to do it. And he said, what are we going to do with this money? I said, we're going to put it in the schools. And he said, that's a good idea. It was to put it in the schools. And so he's the one that came up with the fund beef. And so he gave me the first $500,000, and I brought the check to Mr. Gillette and the school board, a $500,000 check from the state of Louisiana that no other parish got. We got it, and we created this beef fund that I passed in the legislature, which has specific rules on what you can spend, which is great. You can't spend it on a new building. A new building built at Central Park down there won't help the kids in Plain Dealing. Buildings you do with bond issues. That's a sensible thing, and you finance them over 30 years. So we got this money and we put it in here, and it has done great things. So this was such a good idea. When we had a chance to sue the tobacco companies in Louisiana, you might remember Mike Foster was governor. And Mike Foster didn't want to sue the tobacco companies because he said, famous quotes, nobody makes people smoke. Okay? Bobby Jindal at that time was the governor. And he was the head of all the hospitals. He was Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Resources. Well, Bobby Jindal didn't want to sue the tobacco companies because his boss, Mike Foster, didn't want to sue them. But you would think the guy that was head of all the hospitals in Louisiana would certainly want the money back that we've paid millions out through the years, taking care of people with emphysema, cancer, lung problems and all, and we sent them to the charity hospitals. We were glad to take care of them, but it cost people a lot. So we sued them, thank God, and we got $4 billion out of the tobacco settlement. And then that's when I created the Educational Excellence Fund, EAP, and it's a twin to BEEF. And today EAP has $476 million in it. Now every parish, Natchitoches Parish, Bienville Parish, East Baton Rouge, New Iberia Parish, Lafayette, every parish gets the same amount of money, and it also goes to the Catholic schools around the state of Louisiana and the private schools if they qualify, if they're qualified. So anyway, this is a program that started out with the fellow back here that helped get it started with the rest of the people in the audience. We just kept pushing, and like I say, everybody kept the faith, and we got it fixed. And now every parish in Louisiana enjoys this money, and we should have done more like that in Louisiana. We saved more money for the future. I'm tired of hearing about how bad everything is in the state of Louisiana and how poor the education is, this, that, and the other. If you have more people working together in the legislature instead of fighting everything, this is what happens when you work together. It's progressive, it's true public service. So I wanted to, at this time, take a little time to introduce Edwin Edwards. I first got elected when I was 28. I was teaching school at Houghton. I had never been to the Capitol but one time when I was in 8th grade in Louisiana history. I didn't know anything a lot about government, but I went out and met him one time when I first did, and he was nice to me. One thing about this guy, if you called him today at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, before you went to bed, he's calling you back. Now, I'm not telling you he spent a whole lot of time with you on the phone. He called you back and wanted to know what you wanted, and could he help you, and he would let you know by tomorrow, yeah, I can do it or I can't do it. So I appreciate that. I appreciate politicians calling people back. And he's the best at that. He called people back. And he also made decisions. I've been in situations, touchy situations, where he would come in a room and he'd hear both sides. He'd make up his mind real quick and say, this is what I'm going to do. No, not offend the other people. I'll get with you next time. This is what I'm going to do this time. So it's nice to know that we've had leaders in the past. He's been governor, like I say, served 4 times, and he has done a lot of good things for a lot of people. That's why I asked him up here today, because there's 23,000 students in this parish that is going to benefit from this guy right back here. So at this time, I'd like for you to give Governor Edwin Edwards a big thank you.
Being here. I was here about a month ago looking over some property. I'm working with some friends of mine. We're going to hopefully work something out, build a pretty good, nice development in this area, and I'll be seeing you pretty often thereafter. But I'm glad to be back up here and appreciate the invitation. I'll be 91 years old in August. When I was on my 90th birthday, somebody asked me, how'd you celebrate your birthday? I said, well, on my birthday, my beautiful wife woke me up at 7 o'clock with a cup of coffee. I got up and I shaved and I dressed my 4-year-old child, and I drove him to preschool. That's as good as it gets. Of course, I like to tell people it's all a matter of how you view things. This fellow got up from the dinner table, and his wife said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to the refrigerator to get a beer. She said, a beer? She said, again? He said, listen, don't bother me about that. She said, we've been married 50 years, and as long as I've known you, you've been drinking beer every day of your life. How many beers a day do you drink? He said, oh, about 5. How much does that cost? About $2 a bottle? That's $10 a day, $70 a week, $3,600 a year. $182,000 in 50 years. If you didn't drink beer, you could have an airplane. You drink beer, you know I don't drink at all. Where's your airplane? When Foster came to me with this idea, I thought it was a good one, because all my life, political life, I thought that government should be, first priority should be the health of people and education of our children. Because when you give people health, it makes it possible for them to be able to do things. You give them education, and it always lasts. Foster, what you and these people have done will bear dividends for many more generations. And I'm very proud to have been a part of this. Now, when Foster first approached me with this idea, I thought it was a good one. Because I can recall when I first opposed in 1972 bringing the racetrack to Bossier Parish, I got a lot of criticism for it from, people you would expect would be unhappy with that. But we finally, in order to settle the argument, I said, let's have a vote, let the people of Bossier Parish vote on it. And of course, they were willing to do that because they thought they could win the election. Well, the election was 2-1 in favor of the racetrack. And At that time, a racetrack could only race 105 days out the year. And after the racetrack was operating for a while, and the filling stations sold gas, the restaurants and the motels were filled with people from Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Mississippi coming here for the racetrack, and people saw what it did for the economy, creating jobs. Most of the same people that had opposed me came to see me, and they wanted to know why they couldn't race all year round instead of just 105 days. Well, we really found something good to do with it. Foster's idea: take some of the funds and dedicate it to education. And I said, that's a good idea. And so he gave me some kind of name, I forgot what it was. And I said, well, let's make it Bossier Education Excellence Fund. Now, it didn't bother me that the two initials in the middle are EE. And I think it's a credit to the people that have served on the school boards and the educational system in Bossier all these years that the money has been wisely developed, wisely used, wisely invested, and as a result of that, you're sitting on the largest single fund for education of any parish in the state. BPSB, Bossier Parish School Board, it's good credit for the best school board in Louisiana. And it is the best school system in Louisiana. And you should be very proud of that. Now, you know, Mark Anthony stood over the martyred body of his friend Julius Caesar and said, among other things, as he looked at the shattered body, the evil that men do lives after them. The good is often interred in their bones. And that's true. True of life, true of politics. But what you're doing here today, and what I've participated in so many things in my long life, is an example of how important it is to recognize what people do in public life to make things better. Because now there's so much criticism and so much acrimony and so much anger all the time in public bodies all over the country, not just here, but in the country, that sometimes the ability to get things done just doesn't happen. When I was in Congress, we had Democrats and Republicans, but we worked together in principle compromise and we got things done. When I was governor, I worked with the legislature. We had differences, but we worked together. And some of the people here today who are old friends remind me of some things that we did together while I was governor. I'm very proud of that. And it makes me feel very, very good that you folks at this time called me up here to say to me that you appreciate what I did in those days. I had no idea it would ever bear the fruit that it did. But knowing the kind of people you are, I'm not surprised. So thank you very much. Keep up the good work. What you're doing will live forever. It'll never stop because children and grandchildren and grandchildren and grandchildren and others following them will benefit from this system. Now to show you my appreciation, I've arranged a small luncheon for you after this meeting, and I want all of you to join me in the reception room afterwards for a little opportunity to share some time together and say hello. And I promised this nice looking little lady that I would take a picture with her, and I'll be happy to do that. So thank you again. Have a good day.
In the state, and we have a spot waiting for your son to start kindergarten this next year. Come on out north of I-10. We got a place for you. Commissioner Campbell, thank you so much again for investing in Bossier schools and having the forethought back in 1985 to create this lasting legacy for our kids. He has created an indelible impression on our district with the creation of BEEF, and we are so proud, so honored to carry on his legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you so much for being here today and helping us to celebrate and supporting Bossier Schools. Please stay for refreshments courtesy of Governor Edwards. They're on the landing, and take time, please, to mix and mingle with Commissioner Campbell, Governor Edwards, and all of our friends here. Thank you so much again, and we hope to see you back in a few years when we have grown even beyond the $50 million mark. Have a great day, everybody.